Welcome back. As we earlier said, we're going to be talking about the Egyptian efforts to attract more foreign investments into the field of renewable energy, and we're very delighted to be joined over the phone live by Professor Maged Karam, Technical Director of the Regional Center for Renewable Energy. Good morning, Dr. Karam.
Good morning.
First of all, would you please shed more light over the efforts exerted by the Egyptian government to attract more investments to the field of renewable energy?
Egypt has embarked a reform program since 2015 that now we are cultivating I would say, the results of this program. This program started by, in fact, offering opportunities for private sector through the legal framework, through the Egyptian renewable energy law, and followed by several decisions that were endorsed by the Egyptian Electricity Regulatory Agency, allowing private sector to operate in the electricity market in general, but particularly in the renewable energy domain. And this helped the private sector to, in fact, look into the Egyptian attractive market and putting investment into this market. Why? First of all, Egypt has allowed several mechanisms. The first mechanism was the feed-in tariff, which means that the investor can sell electricity to the Egyptian electricity holding company, represented by the Egyptian Electricity Transmission Company, and against a very rewarding price, electricity price, I mean. And this means that we can reach a win-win situation where we have very competitive electricity prices together with a profit margin that would attract the investor. Another, I would say, method or policy for attracting investment is going through competitive bidding and auctions, and where Egypt offered opportunity for private sector to compete to provide the lowest electricity price. And here Egypt provided also a set of incentives, including providing the areas to host the renewable energy projects like solar and wind, land allocation we call this. And here Egypt allocated vast areas, several thousand of kilometers, particularly to host wind energy projects and wind and solar energy projects. Also, beyond the land availability, the extension of the electricity grid and the stability of the grid. We know that Egypt has, in fact, solved almost all the electricity system challenges that were facing Egypt before 2015, and now we have a very stable, but not only stable, but a strong electricity network, which means that when the investor in the renewable energy domain is putting electricity into the grid, he is sure that this electricity will be transferred and sold to the customer. Not only the utility, I mean the Egyptian Electricity Holding Company or the distribution company, but also if it is sold to the private sector. And also we have here also the option to offer Egypt a price comparable to what we have in the bidding process, which means if we get an offer from a reputable company that provide us with a price less than what we reached in the bid, also they have an opportunity to be studied and then to be contracted. And this is what we call direct proposal submission. And in this direct proposal submission, in fact, Egypt reached some of the lowest electricity prices from solar and wind technologies worldwide. So a lot of incentives. Another incentive is what we have now because of the new investment law, where we have tax reduction up to 30% of the investment cost of the project. The tax reduction from the profits, I mean, subjected to taxes. And this is also a rewarding incentive for the investor in the renewable energy domain. A multitude of investments, but above all, there is the political will, the political commitment, and the clear strategy that Egypt is targeting 42% renewable energy by the year 2035, which means that Egypt is committed to add more than 50,000 megawatts, offering opportunities for investments for a private sector.
Right. What about the efforts of the state to provide the needed electrical energy for the strategic development projects all over the country?
Okay. There are several efforts. If you would follow what is happening in Egypt, especially, for example, in the field of solar energy, you will find that already we have now around 1,800 megawatts of installed operational projects. Of course, we have been banned the success story of 1,465 megawatts, but recently also you'll find a solar photovoltaic project inaugurated in Zafarana, 50 megawatts, in Komombo, 26 megawatts, of course, at the older project in Kuraimak, and also several projects adopted for rooftop systems, not only for the residential sector, but for the industrial, tourism, and agro-food industry. Now you can, if you look into the Egyptian map, you will see projects all over Egypt from the north coast to Aswan and even below that. And if you look into, for example, the projects in the solar field also that are now under development, you'll find the projects, for example, in Hurghada, you'll find the projects east and west of the Nile in the newly allocated areas, amounting for around 720 megawatts. This is, and when you look into this, you will find this somehow diversified portfolio between private sector projects and public sector projects. And I mean by public sector projects, projects benefiting from the low interest rate offered through international financing institutions. Similarly, the situation here is for wind energy. Of course, we have Zafarana wind farm, which was the oldest in Africa, our largest in the 90s and the early 20s, and the early, on the past decade, I mean. But now we have Gulf of Suez and Gulf of Zaid projects, which are amounting to more than 1,600 megawatts operational in Egypt. In Ras Gharib, Gharb Bakr, Jabal al-Zayt, all these projects are in fact demonstrating that we are very well preparing for the projects. We have our wind atlas, solar atlas, etc. We have the infrastructure ready to connect this project, and we have also strong programs to protect the environment in these projects. Under implementation now, we have 250 megawatts in the Gulf of Suez zone, and another 2,800 megawatt projects by private sector are currently under development. So here you can see also projects all over Egypt. And one of the new things that I would like to shed the light on are the projects in the field of bioenergy. And in the field of bioenergy, Egypt started, in fact, early, 2 decades ago, but now we have a new law that was endorsed last year regarding the possibility of selling electricity from waste to the utility at a preferential price. And now we have 3.5 megawatts installed capacity from private sector, together with 2 state-owned projects in Jabal Asfar, totaling around 56 megawatts. With these numbers, you can see that we have already also progress in other profiles that was not in the other profiles that were not on the agenda 5 or 10 years ago. And these are also led by private sector, because the feed-in tariff adapted for the bioenergy is mainly focusing on the private sector projects. And this would have a multiple impact on improving the environment, because we are, in fact, improving the waste collection, processing the waste, reducing the emissions from this waste, and producing biogas that can be used to produce electricity and heat also in the facilities that are adopting bioenergy. What I'm saying that now we have projects covering Egypt, even in the new areas, for example, the 1.5 million new agricultural areas in the west of Nile. You can find now projects for solar irrigation, pumping, and these are in fact providing also a source of electricity to provide irrigation, to provide water, coupled with improved irrigation system, which improve the water efficiency. So we are speaking about a nexus issue, that water, food, energy nexus to a certain extent.
Right. How do you see the importance of the participation of the private sector in the renewable energy projects?
Very important. The participation of private sector is vital for the growth of the renewable energy sector in Egypt, and not only renewable energy but energy efficiency also. In fact, without the private sector, achieving the objective, the strategic objectives of turning the Egypt into a green economy would be really difficult. And most of the future projects will not rely on the state-owned facilities, but would rely on privately owned facility under different business models. The different business models, including selling to the utility, selling to the Egyptian electricity holding company through its affiliated entities like the transmission company or distribution company, but also selling to other private consumers. So we can see now the independent power producer concept is being enlarged, and the possibilities for them to sell to other clients. So we now have a step toward greening the different sectors. For example, you can sell to the, I would say, different industrial sector, including those who are engaged in green hydrogen, for example, steel, ammonia, cement, etc., or even on the food industries. And we are seeing a lot of projects in this domain now, in the textile industries, and so on. So what I'm saying in this direction, that now we have different options to attract private investments in the renewable energy domain.
Right. What about the different incentives that are provided by the state to attract the investment to the field of renewable energy?
In fact, the investments can be classified into financial incentives, physical incentives, and others, and soft, I would say. And through the physical incentives, we spoke about the reduction of taxes. We spoke about some exemption from custom duties, and now the renewable energy equipments are enjoying a reduction of customs, so that they pay only 2% of the duties. Another incentive is related to the availability to allocation of land against only again 2% of the electricity produced annually, which is in fact I would say a very attractive option for investors. But this land is also, when it is provided, it is somehow immediately ready for installment. All the approvals from all governmental entities are already obtained. So the project is ready to start installing the equipment and then the production. And this is a major incentive, meaning that the investor will not go to each independent entity to get the permits and license. But when the land is allocated by the new and renewable energy authority in Egypt to the project developer, the land is ready immediately for getting the project. Of course, after having a company to operate the project itself, to install and operate the project. So this is another important incentive. The incentives provided by the investment law. And if you are going to the free zone, there are other incentives that are very attractive, related, for example, to the export of the products that you would produce through the green electricity. And here, there are plenty of opportunities for green hydrogen and green ammonia, and also alternative fuels. Plenty of incentives are offered to the investors, and we are happy that Egypt is becoming really a hub for renewable energy all over the region.
Right. Could you please talk to us about the most important projects carried currently in the field of new and renewable energy?
Well, there are several projects currently under implementation. The most important is around 250 megawatt wind project. Solar energy project. This project is in the Gulf of Zet project. This wind project is state-owned, but beside that, there are similar projects by the private sector. And for the private sector, we can speak about several projects. I would not say the names of the companies, of course, but we have one project of 500 megawatts, another two of similar capacities, 500 megawatts also, another project under development right now, 200 megawatts, and lately we have heard about, in fact, we all followed the news of signing the agreements for 1,100 megawatts wind project. So when we think we have also in the solar domain 200 megawatt private sector and another 500 megawatt under development, so the total projects currently under development in Egypt are 3,500 megawatts, almost the same capacity that is installed now. So all in all, we will, in fact, very soon reach 10,000 megawatts of projects operational in the electricity grid. Now we have around 6,400 megawatts installed and operational in the capacity, and this would be around 10,000 very soon, within, I think, 1 or 2 years maximum.
Dr. Karamuddin, how do you think those mega projects would help boost the economy and also on another level provide an opportunity, job opportunities for citizens and youth mostly?
This is a very important dimension because this is what we call socio-economic impact of renewable energy projects. And by nature, renewable energy projects require somehow higher number of labor that are working during the installation. And based on the experience that we have in BIM projects and other projects, during the installation phase in BIM projects, the number of workforce that were there were around 10,000, I would say, skilled, experienced technician and engineer working in the installations of these projects and also in the services around this, the logistical services like transportation, etc. So when we think about this, and this was only 1,400 megawatt project, through 32 investors, in fact. Each of these investors is a company that is recruiting staff, not only for the installation, but for the planning, the design, and all the services as a company. When you think this is only for 1,400 megawatts, when you think that we will have more than 50,000 megawatts, this means that this can be, in fact, to the multitude of 30 or 50 times of what we had before. But we know and we understand that this would be gradually over a longer time span up to 2035 and 2040, which means that annually we would have job opportunities that would allow more than 10,000 citizens to work in the installation and commissioning of the project, and around 300 to 400 permanent jobs for the 20 years of the operation of the solar and wind projects, if they are comparable to the BIM project, which we are targeting each year. So there are plenty of benefits on this. Another important, I would say, element that we are greening our economy. And we know that the European Commission has, in fact, adopted just last May, on the 13th of May, a decision related to having what we call carbon border adjustment mechanism, which indicates that certain products will have taxation if they are coming from a country or a factory that is polluting the environment. And this means that those factories with high, not only factories, but countries with high carbon footprint, with high level of emissions of CO2, would, in fact, be less competitive because they will have an added taxation on them for the products exported from this country. So by resorting to renewable technologies, we are reducing our carbon footprint. And for example, when a factory is utilizing the green electricity, this means that the factory is lowering its carbon footprint, and then they are more competitive to export to the international market, particularly the European market at this stage. So it is not only jobs, it is important, the jobs are very important dimension, but also the overall macroeconomic situation will improve because we are getting better access to export, and also we are getting better access to finance, because most of the finance now is linked to the green growth. If we are relying on projects that are polluting the environment, it will be very difficult for these projects to get financed. But projects that are green by nature are easier to finance from the international community.
Right. Mr. Maged Karam, Director, Technical Director of the Regional Center for Renewable Energy, we'd like to thank you, sir, so much. And we're going to take a short break and we'll come to continue the breakfast show.